Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. So I want to shout out to Project Nazi. These guys are supplying the bare essentials to Balinese people in desperate need of supplies. Go to Project Nazi GoFundMe page and donate. This is organised by owner of Life on the Juice, Sam Mahoney, and all the money is literally going directly to the locals. There's no filtering there. So for your information, 25,000 rupiah, which is equivalent to $2 US, can feed a family of 4 Balinese people a day. So donate.
I'm having a good time.
You are?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And we are rolling too.
Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Terrible happy talks. Here we go. You ready, brother?
All good, brother.
Today's guest is Brett Harriott. Brett is a husband, martial artist, and the founder of Fit2Fight Boxing Boutique. Brett began pursuing his passion 31 years ago and has since completed, instructed, and coached boxing, Muay Thai, and MMA at the highest levels. His involvement in the industry, excuse me, that coffee, Brett, mate. His involvement in the industry has led to travels around the globe, competing, training, and being the corner man for some of the best in the world. Brett has an affinity with Thailand, its people and culture, a place that has shaped and moulded his skills, techniques, work ethic, and personality. Aside from holding a Bachelor Degree in physical education, Brett's journey has also led him to being a fitness and conditioning coach for National Rugby League teams and beyond. Basically, his resume in the boxing and fitness industry is no joke. Those that have trained under Brett can testify that he possesses an innate ability to squeeze the best out of people. Hard, humble, nurturing and inspiring, you just feel stoked to be around the guy. He's my kind of influencer. After training with Brett on and off for many years and witnessing his journey quietly from afar, I'm in awe of the facility he has created at the Fit2Fight Boxing Boutique. It is the culmination of a lifetime of hard work, passion and dedication, but most importantly, it's somewhat of a legacy for the community he has created with his wife and their team. Today, Brett is with me literally in the ring to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Brett Harriott, welcome.
Welcome, Shan. I appreciate. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, I'm stoked that you've been willing to be on.
Yeah, look, when I got the message from you, I was a little bit nervous.
Why?
Just with podcasts, like I enjoy my podcasts, but just getting deep and personal. So I thought, no, I've got to just jump into this and see what happens.
Dude, I say this all the time. Like, it does take courage to have like a microphone put in your face and step up, like, and be real.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I've always been a little bit of a open book, but, I'm real selective with who I sort of let that out with. So, but this is good for me. I enjoy it.
Over the years, like being an open book, how's that served you?
It served me, depending on the situation that I've been in. It's been good with friends. Like, I've really found out, who are my friends and who ain't. So that's been good. It's been a little bit hard with family, opening up about certain things. So that's been tough. But overall, I just always believe, the truth will pretty much set you free. So I've just been big on just telling the truth and just being myself.
I know, man. I know personally, like, that was something that really stood out for me. Like, the day I met you, I remember thinking, like, this is just someone who is their authentic self. I think, I don't want to, blow your trumpet too much, but I do think that's a really big key to your success, brother. Yeah,
look, my thing in business, in life, whatever, I just think people will see through you. If you're not authentic, you're not real, people will see through you. And everything that I've done has never been about money or or any sort of thing like that. It's just always been about just being myself and just following my journey. And, you know, if I can help people along the way, that's everything to me. So,
like with this facility we're sort of sitting in right now, like it's epic. I mean, It's got everything you'd ever want as a boxer or someone who's just an enthusiast. I mean, I sort of want to start at the end and work backwards a little bit.
Sure.
Like, so I know for a fact you were like a personal trainer for years, and I used to train with you sometimes at Downtown Gym, which I used to love.
Yeah,
That place just had this rough edge.
Yeah, very much.
And what actually got you to actually being able to open this facility? Did you get to the point where you're like, I just want something that's mine?
Yes. Well, that's pretty much, you nailed it there. For me, I wanted to bring boxing and Muay Thai to the general public, because a lot of the gyms that I've grown up in have been those real hard, gnarly sort of atmospheres, and it can be real intimidating for people.
Yeah.
But boxing and Muay Thai is just, whether you want to compete or not, they're the best sports on earth. They'll get you fit. Doesn't matter how much stress or problems you're going through in your life, like you're in the moment when you're training. So we just wanted to open up a facility that's not an actual fighters gym, even though we do train fighters, but it's just for the general public. I want girls coming in, I want mums coming in, I want guys coming in, just being able to enjoy boxing and Muay Thai and all its benefits without having that intimidating atmosphere. So that was our business model, actually.
Yeah. You said you're training fighters.
Yeah.
So I know you've had and been really like nurturing some really amazing fighters of late.
Yep.
So can we talk a little bit about that fighter, Tyler?
Yes.
Who's under you?
Yep.
So
Tyler,
that was a big moment, yeah?
Big moment. Tyler is probably, in my opinion, Australia's, like I would say he's the best prospect coming through.
Why?
Look,
what's he got?
He's got, for a start, skills on another level. I always compare him to, like, if you look at the African Americans and some of their skills, like they're just gifted. But Tyler's got that in a white boy's body, basically. He's ridiculously talented. Yeah. He's tough. He's so intelligent. So he's got a good boxer's brain. He'll be in there and he'll do things that I just, I'm in amazement of. Like, I can tell him to do this and that, but he's just got that natural gift for it. Yeah. So he come into the scene, and I wasn't going to train fighters anymore, but when I met him, I just thought, what a gentleman. So I thought, yeah, I got to work with this guy.
What a gentleman.
He's a gentleman. Like,
so you're looking for those qualities as well.
First and foremost, honesty and integrity is just everything for me, and it stood out. Like, it was just straight away, as soon as I met him, I go, this is a genuine guy.
Humility?
Big time. A lot of humility. Like, he rings me up still constantly through the week. He texts me to see how we're going. Like, he's just always thinking about other people, and I love that in Tyler. He's just such a good boy.
Over the years when you've trained fighters, like whether it's Muay Thai or boxing, and you sort of just touched on some of the things you're looking for in them, have there been times where you've said no to training fighters?
I think probably 80% of the time I've said no.
80%?
Yep.
Okay, why?
Because I just think people are doing it for the wrong reason. And I've been with fighters that didn't resonate with me as, I don't know, for lack of a better description, as a person. A little bit angry, a little bit arrogant, and it's just not for me. Look, it actually affects me. Like, when I'm around people like that, I don't vibe as good. I don't feel like I train as well. So it's a big part of it is to me, I've got to vibe with that person and sort of relate to them as a person, especially with their personality.
Looking for the chemistry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the years too, like, can you maybe like highlight some fighters where you've really had that good connection with? Is there any standouts for you?
A standout for me would be like just working with Shannon Taylor earlier in his career. So Shannon, we sort of met in our teens coming through, and he was just such a talented guy. But look, me and Shannon are like brothers, but he was just an angry person. But that's what made him good. So when we met first, it was like, are we going to really hit it off here? But we did. you know, and I got to find out the real Shannon Taylor, and he was just, you know, he was just a good person, and we ended up like brothers. So he's not, what you seen in the ring was not the person that we used to find just, you know, sitting around having a coffee, just a good bloke. So he was, you know, we got a lot out of each other.
Listen, boxing is a good outlet for anger.
Yep.
I mean, especially for young men.
Yep.
It serves a real purpose, in my opinion.
100%.
They're going to punch a bag as opposed to someone in the street.
Yep.
So be it.
Yep.
But as a trainer, like, do you sometimes feel that you're actually becoming a healer or a counselor for people with anger issues?
100%. Like what it does is it really it puts things in perspective. You've got that anger, and you're sitting in your head a lot when you're dealing with anger. But when you're boxing, you're in the moment. It's very skill based, so it's a science. So if you're going to box with anger, and then as opposed to boxing to, you know, more of a science, yeah, it's gonna bite you on the butt big time.
When you're training in Thailand,
yep,
and you know you've done that a lot over the years from
yep.
your young days. How does the Thai mentality approach to fighting compare to that of, say, a westernized culture?
Yeah.
So are they fighting on emotion, or are they fighting more scientifically? Are they fighting more strategically?
Great question, Shen, because that's what stood out and resonated with me in Thailand. Was when I first went to Thailand, I think I just turned 17, and I'd been in a lot of boxing gyms till then, really gnarly, sort of intimidating atmospheres. In Thailand, after training, you'd be sitting around with, you know, a group of the Thai boys just having some food, and the Thai boys would put their hand on your arm, talking to you. They'd look like little schoolboys, and they'd had 300 fights. They were like literal killers. But they were so humble, so kind, and that just resonated with me. And then, you know, just as we were going along, you know, we'd realise how much their Buddhist culture come into it. So that I was already interested in Buddhism, but that's when it really took off for me, and I thought, nah, this is what it's about.
Boom. I just got the full identification with you. You know why? You were saying earlier, like, you know, you need to connect with people and whatever.
Yep.
I had a guest on the show recently. He's a breathwork guru. His name's Edward Dangerfield, not Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
I almost said that. And he started using this term. He's like, oh, I'm a HSP. I'm like, what the fuck's a HSP?
Yep.
It's like highly sensitive person.
Yep.
And he goes, I used to think it was to my detriment, you know, but then I've realized it's actually my superpower.
Yep.
And when I moved to Bali a couple of years ago, and even prior to that, you know, traveling back and forth there, it was the exact same thing. Like the men, they're powerful, but sensitive. And they'll put their arm around you. They'll give you a hug. They'll want to hold your hand. And these are like tough dudes, you know. And it's a Hindu culture, which I kind of see it similar to Buddhism. They very much work on karma and peace. And again, straight away, I just resonated. I was like, that's what I want to be, you know. And actually, now I think about it, maybe I'm going to become a Hindu. I feel like a Hindu. Dude, I'm a Hindu. I'm going live with this.
Well, congrats. I love it. You know, like that for me that's what resonated with me after, because I mean, I loved Muay Thai, and I was more connected with that than the boxing. Boxing was just a part of it to make my Muay Thai better. But when I was over there in that culture and training, I actually felt like I was like my true self. I used to struggle a little bit more in Australia than I did in Thailand.
Why?
I just found it. Look, I love my country. I love Australia. I just found we were just a lot more highly strung. We were angry and like you were saying before about the sensitive thing. I've always been a pretty sensitive person. Like I've struggled with anxiety my whole life. Over there, like I'm a different human. I just feel so much calmer. I don't feel like I have to, you know, be anyone. I just feel myself. You know, I don't feel like I'm judged. I just feel so much better there.
You feel like at ease in your skin, like at peace.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so much.
I know the feeling, bro.
Yep.
Like, I mean, again, I love Australia. That's where I'm from. I'm not writing it off. But one indicator of a societal difference is road rage. Like I got road rage yesterday because
Crazy here.
I indicated at the last second at a roundabout because I was confused about where I was going. And what do you know? Like just like I was like I'm sorry. I'm sorry I fucked up.
Yep.
Okay. Again, there's the worst traffic and the most chaotic traffic you'll ever see in the world in Thailand and Bali.
Yep.
But it's very rare you would see that kind of behaviour. You would never see someone road raging you for, you know, I mean, there's no rules.
I agree. That example, I say it
Do you?
constantly.
No way.
It's always that example of road rage. Like in Thailand, like I'll be sitting there and I'm just riding along on my moped and people are pulling out everywhere, but everyone's just happy and it's just like organised chaos. Over here, like people will follow you in their car and try and belt you. Like it's crazy.
For maybe changing lanes without indicating or whatever. Like it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And with this situation we're in, and when I was in Bali and I was watching, news of people mass buying toilet paper.
Oh, it's nuts.
Yeah. It just didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
Whereas that wasn't happening in Bali. I mean, firstly, they don't even use toilet paper; they use a bum gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like over there, it's more of a mentality. It's like, well, if you don't have toilet paper, I'll give you some.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to go and buy up the whole shop. And I hope from this situation that some of these themes get highlighted and we make change.
Well, that's a really good point because it really has shown the worst and the best in people with just this whole pandemic thing. People have really rushed out and just over crazy buying and real me, whereas, a lot of other people have, tried to help people and share and whatnot. I've found it a little bit scary, to be honest, how it all come about. It was just like hysteria, so. Mate,
things really escalated.
It did.
Like I was kind of joking about it there's that sort of month leading into it and Corona this, and we're all sort of joking about it. And then boom, it just changed overnight, didn't it?
Yep. No warm up, businesses shut down, people just crazy buying, like going into this like doomsday mentality. It was pretty scary, to be honest.
Do you think the solution is now worse than the problem?
100%.
Why?
I just think, look, I understand what's happening and we've got to try and stop this pandemic. I understand. But in the end, like, with money and with people's lives, mental health, everything has just been so affected. It's going to be a lot worse after this pandemic's gone. We're going to have a lot of problems for a lot of years now because of this. So I understand the health side of it, but I just think we haven't really thought it through, like some of the implications that we're going to be suffering after this for years. It's not going to just fix up in 6 months. We're going to have some real issues for sure.
I agree, bro. I agree. I want to go back to when you used to train in Thailand and your experiences in Thailand. Would you say that like training in Muay Thai and is it like ceremony almost? Is it a spiritual practice as opposed to a fighting practice?
Yes.
I sort of get that. Like the times I've been to live Muay Thai fights, they do the ceremony as they walk in, which I actually still don't quite understand what they're doing. They go and bow to each corner. So they're bowing to the various gods. Is that right?
Yeah. Well,
so can you explain it?
Well, what happens is like as a fighter over there, like it's very steeped in its Buddhism culture. And what you're doing is when you go in and do the Ram Muay, that's like people say, what are they doing? They're dancing, blah, blah, blah at the start. They're sealing the ring.
It's called the Ram Muay.
Ram Muay.
Ram Muay, okay.
Yep. So what you're doing, you're just paying respects to your gym, your trainer, okay, all your people that you've trained with. You're paying respects to the ring. Like really, it's a respect thing. So, and you'll see a lot of the people, they'll take so much pride in their Ram Muay, and you'll sometimes they even say you can tell who's going to win the fight by their Ram Muay because it's just such an important thing to your gym, to your culture, and so there's even been stories that people haven't done the Ram Muay and have passed away in the ring. That's how true, and it is to the Thais. The Thais it's everything there. So you've got to pay your respects, and you've also got to be respectful before you go in.
And it's kind of demonstrating how connected they are. And
yes,
wow, man,
yeah, it really is. Like it's showing you're fighting a lot more for yourself. See, in the Thai culture, it's not you're fighting for yourself and your record and that. It's about representing your gym, representing your whole culture, your whole community as fighters, because it's a community thing. Everyone helps each other in Thailand.
There it is again, that word community. It's a community thing.
It really is. It really is. Like when you get ready for a fight over there, like you've got all the boys, like it's tough training, like, I mean, when I first went there, I was probably sitting around 80 kilo and we had 56, 60 kilo boys just ragdolling you in clinching. So that's like their stand-up wrestling. Just getting, thrown on the floor, just probably, 50. Sometimes I was just wondering, what am I doing? Because I was just getting ragdolled. But straight after that, the boys would come out and they grab you on the arm, sit down, give you some food, talk about what you've done and how to improve your clinching, and just hang with it. So that resonated with me massively. There's no, we're out for ourselves sort of mentality in the Muay Thai. It's a big time community. So,
do you think you've developed an intuitive sense pre-fight? Like you can turn up to a fight, whether you're going in the ring, or whether someone you're training is going in the ring and you're in the corner for them.
Yep.
Does your intuitive sense pretty much like start to flare up before the fight starts, and you sort of know who's going to win the fight?
Look,
based on how they're entering the ring, based on their body language. Like, have you started to really tune into those fine details? Because they are fine
details, and I really agree with you. Like years ago, I used to get quite nervous for my fighters. You'd look at physique and you'd see all these things that really don't come into it. But now I can tell just with people's mannerisms, how they've trained, their personality coming in. I can sort of get a bit of a feel for how things are going to go already a little bit. So I know it sounds weird, but...
No, it doesn't sound weird.
Yeah.
You said sometimes you get really nervous for your fighters. I mean, do you think you're putting that energy on them? And is that something you've had to work on as a trainer?
Definitely, because
because they're looking to you.
They're looking to me.
For security, right?
For security. And I don't think people can really even grasp how, you do your training and it's just not a team sport. Once you jump in that ring, you've got your camp behind you and your trainer. But once you get in there, ultimately it's you. So it's a pretty scary time. It'll really show who you are and what you've got and how you react. So, look, I think it's one of the most beautiful things on earth, but it's also, the flip side, it's scary as. Nothing's more scary.
You've had Muay Thai fights in Bangkok, Thailand, right?
Yep.
Numerous? Amateur level? Professional level?
Well, they were all more or less professional because you got paid. So,
What was that main stadium back in the days at Lumpini?
Lumpini.
Have you fought there?
No, never fought Lumpini. When I was going through, you've got A grade and B grade and C grade Thais. Like where I went through we stayed a lot of the areas called Pattaya. It was just outside Bangkok, but we had probably back then the best Thai boxing gyms in the world. So
Did you say Pattaya?
Pattaya, yeah.
Dude, for years I used to call it Pattaya. I've never been there.
Yeah, well, people call it Pattaya, but the Thais call it Pattaya.
Pattaya, okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and just back then, I went there in 87. The camp then was just amazing. Best trainers, really, really good training. We had a few good foreigners coming through, but there wasn't a lot back then like there is now.
Describe an average training camp in Thailand then. So let's say you're in a pre-fight training camp in Thailand.
Yep.
Could you give us a breakdown of what that regime would look like?
Okay, we'd turn up. Everyone would just, it's funny because you'd have the Thais would be playing Thai folk music. It's very calm at the start because they really sort of vibrate on their music. So everyone be real relaxed, and they'd be saying sabai, sabai, which just means just relax, calm, you know. So we just
Sabai. Interesting, because in Bahasa Indonesian they say sabar, which is patient.
Yeah,
Patience,
and they'll say it all through your sessions when you're training. Like if you tense up, they're going sabai, sabai. So they want you to relax and really flow with your training. It's not about anger and whatnot. So yeah, you just oil up and you put your runners on, and depending on the camp, you can run anywhere from 10 to 20 kilometers before you even start training. So it's not easy.
And then it's pad work.
Then you come back and you do a lot of shadow boxing. So you'll shadow box, for a good 10 minutes. And then, so what happens then, you'll either go do some bag work, or that one of the trainers will call you in and do some pad work. So,
and then?
Well, the pad work.
You stretching. Like what line is the pad work, and then you're sort of done, or a bit of light sparring?
No, there's the pad work sort of runs. They run on 5-minute rounds, so it's pretty grueling. So you might do 5-5s on the pads.
Yeah.
When you're finished, you'll get most of the fighters will go through their pads. So then they'll go in and do some light Thai sparring. So the Thais don't tend to spar heavy over there. It's more technical because. Their idea of it is a little bit more aggressive with your pads. Your sparring should be more technical, so that way you're not going to bang yourself up and wreck yourself for the fight. So the sparring is more technical and skill based. But then at the end, everyone just takes their gloves and wraps off, and you might clinch, which is their like Thai wrestling, for anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes.
Just to describe that for listeners, it's more like it's that grabbing around the neck.
Yep.
Trying to pull the opponent in close to get a knee in.
Yep.
Generally, or an elbow.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And probably, it's the hardest part of the training, because it's not easy. They go hard.
I remember training with you at Downtown Gym, and we used to do, the clinching part of it used to kill me. We just used to clinching drills, no boxing, trying to, gain position. And wow, man, that was some of the hardest stuff I've ever done.
And it really is there's just no other way around it. It's got nothing to do with size and strength. It's, it's very technique based. So if you're good at your clinching, you've already got a real leg up in your Muay Thai, because it's such a big scoring part of Muay Thai. And your fitness wise, because what happens in Muay Thai, once you come together and you do go into the clinch, they're not breaking it. You've got to work your clinch. So if you're not comfortable in that clinch with knees and elbows, you haven't really got much of a Muay Thai career. So,
and I think that's where it's a big mind game, that one, because I find fear sets in really quick in a clinch. Is the second that you feel like you're kind of caught or trapped.
Yep.
This sense of claustrophobia comes over you, and then the panic sets in, and then you start burning the energy.
Yep.
And it's that going. Being comfortable in the struggle and relaxing with it, eh? It's the mind part. It's
for
hectic.
sure. You've described it perfectly there. You have to really relax in that clinch, or you just won't last 30 minutes, and it's just constantly changing one partner to one partner to one partner. So, it really sorts you out. It really makes you relax as a person, because if you don't, you won't get through 5 minutes of it, because it's just constant work. So,
dude, can you describe to us that feeling you get when you're about to walk into a stadium or an arena in Thailand, about to have a Muay Thai fight?
Yeah.
What's going through your head? Let's break it down.
Oh, well, look.
Has it varied over the years? Have you become more comfortable with the anxiety?
It's varied. When I first started, I had, I've always been someone that could deal with things when it's just happened. I struggled with the whole thought process of weeks before things. So that's when it used to really affect me anxiety. It'd be thoughts of, well, if I don't win, if I don't perform, my friends are not going to like me, or I'm getting exposed. Who am I as a person?
We're going to shame.
Oh,
I'm not good enough.
Yes, massively. That used to be. It's never a fear of getting hurt. Well, it never was for me. I've never worried about that. It's just
really?
No, never. Never ever worried about getting hurt. That was not the thing. It was more about me being exposed as a man or a person, or am I as good as I actually thought I was?
Potential judgment and ridicule.
Oh, huge judgment and ridicule.
I can't believe you're saying this, because it drives me. fully drives me, dude.
That was my main thing, especially as a young man. It used to really affect me. And I found there, like, I remember fighting in I had a bar fight in Thailand, they were all legit fights, but
a bar fight as in they set a ring up in a bar.
Yep. We have there, and foreigners would come in, and
it sounds gnarly. Like
it was like my first one there was in the Best Friend bar, and
in Bangkok,
in Pattaya.
Oh, Pattaya, sorry.
So, it was a ring there, and you'd be, all the young fighters would go through there first, but surrounding that was just bars, and you probably had 400 working girls just standing around the bar, and a lot of people drinking, and crazy atmosphere.
Raw. So,
yeah, I found that so nerve-wracking walking into that because it was just mayhem.
It's like a real contrast. Like you have an athlete at the top of their game walking into an environment where people are wasted,
Literally.
smoking. It's probably full of cigarette smoke.
Everywhere, 100%.
And because they're drunk, they're probably loud and obnoxious, and you're probably copying all sorts. So
judgmental. You'd have so many times in that night, you'd have people screaming out like, "Oh, let me, and I could do this." You'd have the big guys sitting there all muscled up, and you'd see them sort of just, pretty much demand to jump in that ring, and then would get their chance and not last even a minute. Just get bashed by a young Thai boy, probably 20 kilo lighter. Just bash him. So people got a real hard lesson that way, because it's a very, very tough sport.
So you're sort of saying it was the weeks before the fight that were more anxiety riddled than the actual day.
Oh, like tenfold. The actual fight is not scary. Once you start fighting,
it's like you're back in the training ring.
Yep. You're doing what you do. You can control that relatively. So, it's about your training. It's about how you handle it. It was never an issue for me. It's the weeks leading up that were the big problem for me.
But preparation breeds confidence?
Does. And I instill that into my fighters. Preparation is everything. Once you step in there, 3/4 of the fight is already won or lost with your prep. Because that's why I say to my guys, do not miss your road work. Don't miss your sparring. I understand if you're sick, but your prep's everything, because it's not just prepping you physically, it's prepping you mentally. So
yeah. When you're sorry to keep going down the fighting rabbit hole, because I'm really interested, but when you're the corner man for a fighter, what are you saying to that fighter in between rounds if they're not going well?
Okay. My approach has always been, even if there's a negative, I like to put a positive on it. So I'll go, look, you're using your jab well, you're doing this well, but, you're dropping your right hand, you're getting caught with the left hook all the time. So I'll try and keep them up, because if you get too negative in the corner, you can pretty much break.
Does that happen? Do you see trainers do that to their fighters?
Mate, numerous trainers are just, are great trainers, but they're just not good communicators.
Have you had some fighters that actually feed off the negative and then use that?
Well,
or does it go into that emotional mindset more?
Well, it does. I remember with Shannon, you could really, you could be aggressive and swear, and he'd feed off it. He'd just go out there and just steamroll people. He loved that sort of thing. But I've got other friends where if you were really screaming and swearing at them in the corner, that'd just bring them down. They don't even hear a word you're saying. So you've got to actually be, for lack of a better way, you got to be a little bit more sensitive and direct and with your corner man instructions.
Here's the next question.
Yes.
What do you say to the fighter between rounds who's going really well?
Well,
what are you saying to that? What are you saying to that fighter?
What I'm saying to that guy is keep doing what you're doing, but don't get too comfortable and start layering up and taking it for granted that you are ahead, because you're ahead. So some people can start relaxing with their guard. I'm just big on dotting your I's and crossing your T's. You have to start to finish. I don't want you backing off one bit. If anything, I want you finishing stronger. So I'll just keep reiterating his basics. Keep doing your basics well. Keep fighting your fight. Don't get caught into no slugfest and get caught with something silly, basically. So
don't get caught with something silly, because that's all it takes.
All it takes.
Just one on the chin.
One on the chin. I don't care who you are. You're going down. So
all right, dude. So we're sitting in your gym right now in Wollongong.
Yep.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Bellambi, just a little suburb, pretty much on the northern suburbs. So I grew up there.
Yeah, and what was that like? Like, what describe the area back when you were young?
Back then, it was a real low socioeconomic area, so we were all housing commission kids. We didn't have much, very rough area. So I have to admit, it was
like, describe rough, like drug problems, a lot of social problems,
control.
drug, alcohol issues,
A lot of massive amounts of drugs and alcohol. Crime was through the roof.
Yeah.
A lot of physical attacks and abuse. Didn't matter what age you were. In the neighbourhood. Big
on
time.
you as well?
On me, constantly. Like, I remember my earliest memories, like, it's funny now growing up, you see a lot of parents taking their kids to school, picking them up. Back then, pretty much all kids just walked to school and walked home.
Same.
So,
Or rode your bike.
Or rode your pushy.
Unless it got nicked.
So, in Bellambi, not too much pushy riding because it'd get nicked. So, so a lot of us were walking to school, and that time between school and home, was usually when things happened.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of bullying, a lot of getting beaten up.
Like physical bullying, like the old school type of bullying.
Yeah, I remember as a young kid, one older kid just beating people up as we were going to school.
For sport. Dude.
It wasn't even part of our school. I remember.
And how did you take that? Were you someone that, there's two ways we can go in these situations. It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that you took the fight option and not the runaway option.
Yeah.
Or sometimes the runaway option.
Well, for me, it was always, I was always a sensitive sort of kid and, a real mama's boy. I was always been a mama's boy, but.
You're not saying, bro.
Yeah, I'm still to this
She's
day.
A guru.
Oh, I love my mama to death.
Same, bro.
Yeah, still.
Sorry to go off topic. But I feel like I need my mum more now than I do when I was younger.
Oh,
to help me be an adult.
I agree.
Make adult decisions and stuff.
I agree. If I don't see my mum every week, I just don't cope as well.
Oh, man.
I literally do.
So nice, bro.
I go and visit my mum and I walk in the room, she's got me nailed in 2 seconds. You're stressed or you're this or you're that, just sitting down having a cuppa with me mum is just better than any psychological, session you could ever have. Your mum knows you better than anyone. So, but yeah, back then, it was pretty tough that way. So I wasn't naturally a real rough, tough person, but it's funny, your environment makes you put shields up or you develop certain things in your personality that, really you're not that person, but it's either, fight or flight, you sink or swim. So
I'm going to get deep here.
Of course.
Because you were kind of forced to grow up in that environment and survive.
Yep.
And develop those survival instincts. Has it harmed or helped you now as an adult?
Well, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. I had to be honest, I can't remember growing up with not being in some sort of physical altercation. It was, yeah.
That's a lot of violence, bro.
A lot of violence. From the word go, it was, I remember being bullied by 3 or 4 kids just constantly. I remember one time one kid held me down in the gutter, the other one jumped on me head in the gutter.
It's heavy, dude.
Yeah, just shocking things. And, and I look back at that now and I just think, kids ain't supposed to go through that. So,
did you think that was normal though?
I thought it was normal back then.
I grew up in Nowra, and I think it was a very similar sort of socioeconomic environment to what you're describing.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I left Nowra that I realised that, hey, that's not normal.
No.
Because it was similar to your story.
Yeah.
Very similar. And I thought it was just that's what you did. And then when I left the area and started realising it wasn't, but then I developed those survival mechanisms.
Yep.
It was oh man, that guy's fucking tapped in the head.
Oh, mate, I'm so similar to you. I look at it now and just go, what was that? How can you grow up and not have some sort of issues coming out of that? Because
it's trauma, bro.
It's trauma. trauma in its purest form, and I just remembered like having to fight back and just realizing like if I fought back, I'd be okay, but it's not something kids should have to be put in that position because, it's all about nurturing and growing and all those sort of things. But I just never had that, so it was, it was a pretty rough sort of upbringing, especially from around about 5 onwards. Like literally it was just fights galore.
When you say onwards, like through most of your teen years?
All through my teen years. I think, it's just one of those things. I think that atmosphere and that violence, it just attracted violence in itself.
At what stage did you find fighting then? How old were you when you sort of started to get into it? Well, were you more of a young man?
No, I think like my mother, she's from Holland, and like we've got our grandparents, my Oma and Orpa, we'd go over there and visit all the time. So from the age of 5 and 6, my Orpa, he was like years ago, he was the Netherlands boxing champ. So he was really big on boxing in amateur boxing. So like, he's a real, he's like one of my, heroes basically. So he would teach all us kids. Mum's 1 of 12, so we a lot of grandkids. So
excuse me,
yeah,
1 of 12,
1 of 12. Yeah, come over from Holland on a boat.
Dude, I've got 2 kids. It's so gnarly. Like I've been up since 4 a.m.
Yep.
And then there's another 10 on top of that.
On top of that, crazy. Yeah, and and that was just how it was back then. 12 kids.
Yeah.
Crazy. And
hectic.
So he'd teach us boxing in his lounge room. We'd come and visit and he'd teach us boxing all the time. So we were sort of taught to box pretty much from about 5 onwards. So we had a little bit of an idea.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was, so that did help.
If you had to reflect on your early years growing up,
yeah,
how would you sum them up? Would you sum it up with fondness, or would you sum it up with gratitude because maybe it's shaped you who you are today?
Yeah.
Or do you reflect on it with pain?
I think all them things you just said.
All of them?
All of them.
Okay.
Like I've got some fond memories of like kids were kids then. Like you could go out and you live your life and you weren't sort of cotton wooled and things like that. So I think it did build a good resilience within me, but also a lot of pain too, because I just don't think it's healthy for a young man to be growing up with that sort of violence, so.
How have you dealt with it?
It's funny, like through me teens, I used to always wonder why sometimes I'd be just wanting to jump out of my skin. I couldn't work it out because back then, like in the 80s and early 90s, like mental health wasn't talked about. It was just like, tough it up, mate, and just get on with it. So I never talked about things, but I always had a lot of anxiety in me. And I couldn't work out what it was. So my way of dealing with that would be through training. And that's why to this day, it's a coping mechanism for me. Like even though I'm 50 years old, I'll still train probably 2 to 3 hours a day just to take that little bit of edge off me with my anxiety. So
like a medicine.
It literally is my medicine.
Yeah. It is.
Literally.
I know. I'm really identifying with it. I sometimes reflect on my childhood, and it's funny how we do the painful memories really stick out. I had a lot of good memories too, man.
Of course.
Like a lot of good stuff, but I still, in my early 40s, I still remember these things, and I went through periods of like, oh, why did that have to happen to me? Like,
yes.
God damn it. Like, why, and then I think it's taken me to this stage in my life to be at peace with it and just accept that it's part of my journey and that it needed to happen. And I don't know why it needed to happen, but it did, and just accept it.
No, I agree.
Like, I'm, really starting to work on this mindset of like, I don't want to be defined by the past.
So agree.
I want to be defined by visions of the future and where I see myself in the future. And it's amazing how you can flip it.
Yep.
And when I realized that, life just does feel a lot better, even when things are going chaotic. Like I feel really like excited about the future because it can be
I agree with
I
you.
want it to be.
Yep.
And I personally feel, sorry to go on a rant here.
No, go for it.
I do feel, and I see it with people, and we talk about this epidemic of mental health, which
Yep.
it is.
Oh, it
and
is.
You know what? That's the real pandemic. Because, you know, the difference between an epidemic and a pandemic is epidemic is localized. It's
Yep.
to a certain area, but a pandemic is the same thing except it's global. So it's a pandemic of mental illness.
100%.
And I do feel like it's just, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it's this notion of people being hung up on the past.
Yep.
And when you when you really think about it, you can't do shit about it. It's done. Fucking let it go.
Look, it's so true. You know, they talk about like depression, living in the past, and anxiety. You know, it's about the future. It really, truly is that way. You know, and as a young kid, I remember not being able to deal with things like I'd have me past just sort of like bite me on the ass, for lack of a better description, all the time. You know, like I'd get down and I'd get stressed, and I'd just think, you know, why I couldn't sort of understand, like you said before, why this all happened. But then I just remember saying to myself, well, you know, I refuse to let that define me as a man. You know, like, and a man can be a broad term. I don't say that in a masculine term. Like, a man is someone that has got integrity, is kind, you know, looks after his family, goes out and works when he doesn't feel like working, and that's what I define like a man as. So I just thought, no, I don't blame the past. Like, actually, I'm going to use that to make me a better person, you know, because you see so many people, you know, they're alcoholics. Okay, my dad was an alcoholic, so I'll blame that. Okay, where I'm violent. I grew up in a violent, so I'll blame that. That's bullshit. You're a man. You can make your decisions for yourself, and it's a choice. You know, it really is a choice. So real early on, I got into that. I thought, no, I'm not having my past define me as a, you know, a man, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a victim mentality, isn't it?
It really is a victim mentality, and that's my only, like, I've got no judgment on people per se, but I have a bit of a issue with that victim mentality. That really, you know, gives me the shits, basically, because you know, we can all do that, but it's just not going to do you any good, not do your family or your community any good, you know. So
yeah, bro. And you know, I'm going to get a little bit philosophical, but we're all here as humans. Like, just to even be born is really special.
it really
and I kind of feel like you have a responsibility to live your best life.
True. I really agree. Like, you know, like, I've done a lot of studying at different Buddhist temples, Nantian, and different ones in Thailand, and that in itself, where we've been born in Australia, like, that is good karma in itself. To be born here,
Mate, you're the jackpot.
you
lottery.
are blessed.
100%.
Because, you know, look, you know, as you've seen in Bali, and we've seen in Thailand, and a lot of other countries, they just they've you know, been born into a situation a lot tougher than us. So, you know, you've got to look at the pluses. So, you know, Australia truly is the greatest country in the world. You know, of course, we've got some issues there, but to be born here, like, is you're blessed.
Yeah, you've won the lottery.
Yeah.
You know, like I said at the start of this, like, I did a shout out to that Project Nazi that he's still a Wollongong local, Sam Mahoney, who lives in Bali now, has businesses over there. I mean, he's just trying to get the essentials to those people. Like, they're looking for handfuls of rice to survive.
Yep.
You know, but people are struggling in Australia. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But the struggle's different, 100%.
There's a big, you know, perspective there in itself.
It is.
You know,
it's humbling.
It really is humbling, and people really have to, you know, look outside of themselves sometimes and just realise, you know, look, we've got it pretty good. This ain't World War I, World War II. You know, it's bad, but people, you haven't got, you know, kids not coming home, seeing their family because they've been killed in war and stuff. You've got to put it, I'm not trying to be too heavy here, but you do have to put it in perspective. We've got, you know, we want for nothing here in this country.
It's true, bro. It's so true. So, man, school. What sort of student were you?
It's a funny one because, well, look, to sort of describe this, I've been seeing a psychologist now for the last couple of years, and a big part of our discussions have been my schooling. Since 5 onwards, like, I was one of those kids at school where I, you know, my studies, everything, I just could not grasp it. Like I couldn't see numbers. Like I thought I was actually I thought I was thick, you know, like my schooling was really bad. Like I couldn't, especially with numbers, like I struggled with math and I struggled with concentration. But what I did discover from work with my psychologist was that, see, he diagnosed me with PTSD since I was age of 5. So, you know.
Was that because of like the rough area you grew up in?
Rough
the
area.
You described at the start?
Yes, rough area, you know, tough childhood, you know, some alcohol and violence, and growing up, that really affected me as a kid. You know,
in the household?
Yep, big time in the household. Like I don't remember probably 4 to 5 days of every night I couldn't sleep at home. You know, we'd have to sort of run out of the house, basically, me mum, me brothers, and because, you know, like I love me dad, but just the alcohol and the violence was just through the roof. So we couldn't stay home. So that affected me as a kid. You know, I remember just not even being able to concentrate at all at school. So, but I couldn't understand that back then. I thought that I actually was like a dummy.
Did school feel like a place of refuge as well, though? Like, aside from the academic side of it, you knew it was a safe place?
Yep. It was a safe place, and I went to Bellambi Public, and there's a lot of kids I suspect went through the same thing, you know. So I was probably a popular kid for lack of a better description, you know, because I was good at sport, but academically I was shocking. Yeah. So and that sort of had issues. I had issues with that coming up because, you know, it affected my self-esteem because I just thought, what is wrong with me? Why can't I grasp this? But now looking back, the PTSD and the trauma that you were copping at home and stuff used to really, you know, you had brain damage. Your brain's so affected by trauma.
Dude, this is coming up so often in this podcast, man. Like, and it's I kind of feel like the more that it gets brought up and the more it gets talked about, the more healing it is.
Yeah, it is.
For me and anyone that listens to it, because it's so isolating. And for so many years, I know I personally felt like I was alone in it.
Yep.
But even just right now, hearing you say that, it's just like this wave of just like,
yep.
You know? And I think that in itself is another way communities need to support each other, just by having a chat.
Mate, it's so true. You don't realise, like, you see some kids coming to school and, you know, they're angry and you know, they're not coping well, and half the time, or a lot of the time, especially where I grew up, they hadn't even been fed properly. So if you're not even getting a good brekkie, how are you going to be able to concentrate and do what you do at school? And they're not a bad kid. They're poor kids.
And they're not dumb.
They're not dumb.
And unfortunately, there's systems that actually are making them feel dumb, you know, because those factors aren't considered, you know, and then they're putting this high level of academia and study on them, and the poor kid can't even concentrate because they've had nothing to eat.
So true.
Or had broken sleep because mum and dad are fighting. Mum and dad are screaming at each other all night, or worse. Yep. And then they've got a teacher, you know, reprimanding them for not completing their work. So
true.
You know, it's like you've got to scratch the surface and see what's below, you know. Yep.
Look, what you've just said is so true. You know, I remember, you know, going to school and just being tired, you know, mentally beat up. I remember, like, at one stage, like, my mother would even tell me, so I was wet in the bed probably for 2 years straight, you know, and I was so embarrassed about it, and it really affected me as a kid, you know. But the thing is, it was all trauma-based. It was all nerves and stuff like that. Mum said as a kid I had a stutter. I can't remember it. I think it's a trauma thing you tend to block out. But Mum took me to the doctors and it was all, just nerves, you know. So I don't think people realise, you know, the effects it has on kids, you know, alcoholism, violence and trauma, and it just, kids are not meant to be copping that. So.
They're not. And like, man, like those early years especially, like all their neurological pathways are being set.
Yes,
being mowed.
So true.
It is so friggin' delicate. Yep. And, you know, like, I mean, it's hard being a parent as well. Like, I guess like just being conscious of how sensitive they are is the first step. But it's
so true, Shane.
But like I said, like I know me, like as a 40-year-old man, you know, like I'm still dealing with things from my childhood, you know, and it's like, damn, like, damn.
No, I agree with you, mate. Like the funny thing is, you know, when you hear people say, oh, you know, kids remember everything. Well, they remember everything.
They do, bro. They're sponges.
They are sponges. I remember, and it's come through in I've had different clarity of certain things and went, you know, what the hell was that? But because trauma can make you block things out to get through, but later on you remember them. And that's what's happened to me over the years. You know, I've just had these, especially from now that I'm 50, my later, say from 45 to 50, I've just really just done a lot of, you know, thinking back of what happened. And so like I think now because, well, again, going back to my psychologist, as men, when we're young, we're full of testosterone and hormones. You tend to just blast through things. And that's all dropping now for me now, you know, like you haven't got all those crazy hormones. So you get a little bit more reflective. And I've found some of my hardest moments now from this age, from 45 to 50.
Yeah. And also I think because you get to like that age, and it's often described as a midlife crisis for men and women. And it's like, I think you get to that age where it's like, you can't just suppress it anymore.
No.
It's like, that's it. It's coming to the surface. And, you know, I think your body changes, the hormones change. So like you said, testosterone probably helped you suppress it.
Oh, for sure.
And then if you've used other things like alcohol or drugs to suppress it, you know, you're at that age where they're now not actually working anymore and they're just causing more negative than they ever did, positive.
Oh, for sure.
And it is a crucial thing, you know.
It really is. And, you know.
A crucial time
because like alcohol, you look at a lot of people, the way they deal with things like, you know, alcohol, drugs, crime, whatever, you know, a lot of the time it's just a Band-Aid for them dealing with their pain, you know, and I'm lucky that I grasped exercise. That was my way of dealing with things, you know, and people, you know.
So you don't drink?
I don't drink at all. I don't do drugs. I mean, I have done drugs in the past. I went through, see, the funny thing is from year 7 till about the age of 20, no junk. I just wanted to have, like, pretty much had no child.
You're just committed.
I was committed, and all my anxiety was just, so I went through crazy years of just living this Spartan lifestyle that really can't be described as a childhood. But then I remember in my 20s just blasting off for a year, just like, you know, hitting drugs and just like it was my way of rebelling. I needed to be normal, for lack of a better description. So, yeah, I tried pretty much everything in that year.
Did it give you that relief between the years?
It did. You know, like I remember going out partying with friends and just, you know, I found I was never an alcohol person. So, because that's like, you know, I hate it. It just really brought up a lot of bad memories. So I tried a lot of, you know, ecstasy and cocaine and stuff like that. And it was just all peace and love. You know, everyone was good. Fair enough. I didn't like the come downs and whatnot, but I don't regret them years at all, you know, because I needed that I just had to feel normal. You know, I had to have the ups and the downs. I had to be able to, you know, let me hair down basically and be a normal human, because I don't feel like I had that as a kid. So,
because you were so passionate. Yeah, a lot of top level athletes say that. You know, they do give up. They sacrifice a lot of the things that, I guess, almost for lack of a better word, normal people do. You know, because like that's what we do. Like your late teens, early 20s, or through your 20s, it's sort of party time. You're going out and you know, trying to meet people and whatever. And a lot of pro athletes, well, they sacrifice that, which is really admirable.
And you do. It is a sacrifice, and you know, all your social outings and things like that. When you're, you know, in training all the time, you just you do tend not to you know, go out and stuff like that and drink and whatnot.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like, I mean, I'm really trying to work on not regretting things.
Yep.
But if I could go back and change something about my life, I would have stayed away from alcohol altogether.
Yep.
Now that I can reflect on it in hindsight, I think alcohol for me was like probably the most detrimental thing that I've done to my body. Yeah. Like more than when I've experimented with drugs.
Yep.
And more than experimented with drugs, to be honest. But yeah, I feel like alcohol did me the most damage, the most harm, not just physically, but Psychologically and emotionally. And it burnt relationships, it burnt friendships constantly.
Oh, look, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's my gripe with anything is alcohol, because so readily available. But it's just such a big money thing. Like even now in this crazy pandemic, bottle shops didn't even get closed down. And I think because people are, self-medicating, so that they've left that open.
That's exactly the word. That's it. It's self-medication.
And it's so it's a real evil. I think it's an evil thing because, people drink and drive. It affects. It's a depressant. It affects people's personalities. I mean, you look now. You'll even find, domestic violence will be going through the roof. It's crazy.
A friend of mine's a counsellor at one of the local schools, and he's just like, got grave concerns. He's very aware of some of the kids that are living in abuse.
Yep.
And now they're stranded. And they've been trying to reach out to these kids and they can't get in contact with them. And they're stuck at home with their abusers. It's just like,
I agree. It's sad and
what
it's
a
scary.
knock-on effect.
Oh, and it is. And there's no way around it. Like, when with the alcohol, it's just one of those things, like it can literally make you to a Jekyll and a Hyde person.
I know.
It affects your personality that bad.
And hats off to those people that can have two drinks.
Oh, I'm all for it.
They can have a drink. Like my wife's a classic. Like she'll go out all night.
Yeah.
If it's a party or we've got some event on, she'll go out till 3 a.m. and have one glass of wine all night, dance all night, talk shit, have a great time. Personally, I can't do that. I have one drink. It's got to be 10. And it's like you said, I wasn't aware that I was having a problem with it until I was older. I wasn't aware that when I had my first drink, it wasn't for the taste of the alcohol. It was like, it could have been whatever. It could be fucking hand sanitizer with alcohol. As long as it gave me that feeling where I couldn't feel my legs and I was out of my head and I could just be free from the noise in my head. And
So
it's
true.
like, I really do. And now that I don't drink and I haven't drunk for many years, when I go out and I see other friends doing it, I try not to be judgmental, but I can see the ones that are doing it for the wrong reasons. It becomes so apparent.
Yeah. I mean, you know it in yourself, because like the alcohol, it is scary and it's such a social thing. So people can hide behind that. But look, it is, to me, it's way worse than any sort of, even like heroin, coke, and anything. It's way worse. Like
Don't get me started.
It really is, and the effects that it has on people is shocking, because it just brings on, it does tend to bring on, more violent episodes, because people are just dredging all their past up in their head, and the alcohol, and the more they drink, the worse they're getting, so.
100%. And like, while we're sort of going down this rabbit hole, like that archaic mentality of like, cannabis and is like evil, when I've made a decision in my life to never use it again.
Yep.
But I do advocate for its legalization and usage, because some of the research coming out around its medicinal benefits, plant-based medicine.
Absolutely.
I had a past guest, Stephanie Smith. She was super interesting because she was a real estate agent in California, and just after the GFC, cannabis was fully legalized in California.
Yep.
And she just stumbled across the fact that industry needed places to grow marijuana. And then she's become the largest cannabis landlord in California. So she leases land and properties to cannabis growers. And after the show, she was just and she's actually then campaigned for the change in legislation and the protection of rights of cannabis growers. And she was just talking about all these medicinal benefits that I didn't even know, like even the fact that you can take the THC out of this product and use the CBD oil for pain relief. I mean, the results with cancer, people with terminal cancer are huge. And it's just like, and also it creates a new source of revenue for a country. So you can build an economy on it.
It does.
And remove a black market, tax the shit out of it, use that money to build new schools, put people in, help people with mental illness.
Yep.
And but no, they'll keep opening fucking, what's that? Is it Murphy's? What's it called again?
Yep,
Murphy's and all these big like alcohol places, give them as much leeway as possible. And people have been domestically violent when they're drunk forever.
Yep.
And it hasn't changed.
And it hasn't changed. And it's, like you said, our whole area, was just drenched in alcohol,
Drenched.
and us kids, were basically, we copped it because of it. So either, like I was saying before, you either follow on from what your parents did or whatever around you and become, an alcohol abuser, which is statistically, is through the roof, or, like myself, I'm lucky I got into sport because could have easily, even when I see my psychologist, we were talking about PTSD and mental illness and how, it affects you. He said, really, statistically, I should be an alcoholic. I should be a drug addict or I should be in jail.
You're a legend, Blake. You're a legend, buddy.
Oh, no, thanks, mate. So I'm just lucky I've had good people around me and, I've, like I said, the love of me mum is everything. That's what's, them little things, like a little bit of love and a little bit of care can literally, bring people through some pretty tough stuff. So
would you say your passion for martial arts pulled you out of going deep into that?
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Even to this day, I train now, still every day. I get excited to still train. Still excited.
Really?
Yep. Still, I'll
so good.
I have got a massive obsessive compulsive personality, and I think any athlete or someone that's loves what they're doing, it's a fine line. So, but for me, I'll still sit down and I'll watch YouTube clips of training and fights, probably 6 hours a day, and I'm not even joking. Every day,
dude, it's
just studying it and watching it, and I'm in heaven. I love it, still to this day. So. It really has been my saving grace. Yeah. So,
and I'm the same. I think I've had a few passions in my life that have actually pulled me out of going to those deeper levels of substance abuse, like a lot of my friends did in growing up, and I'm sure you've had the same.
Yep.
And I'm so grateful for it, the fact that for me, I was, as a kid and teenager, it was skateboarding that actually got me out of it. Even though I was doing all those bad things, still had my little skate crew, and we just loved skating so much. It was we'd rather go skate than smoke that extra bong or drink because we knew that the hangover was going to affect us because we wanted to learn this new trick the next day. And then it was, I always dabbled in surfing because I lived, we're sort of coastal, but then surfing was a big one too. But then often, I worry about people who don't find their passion.
Yep.
And it's easier for them to delve.
Oh, look, and it really is. As soon as if you're struggling with something and you haven't got a passion like we've been talking to, you'll find or you'll go looking for acceptance or something from anywhere. And that might be a group of other kids that are struggling and they just might happen to be, into alcohol, drugs. They might be stealing and doing crime and whatnot. So it's, it's a pretty tough way to deal with things. But statistically, that's where you'll find majority of people will go. But
I also think when you make these positive decisions, you start to draw that energy into your life. You start to attract like-minded people.
So true.
So if you put a negative on it, and you keep making bad decisions around drinking or using certain substances, well, you're going to attract the same people.
So true.
And you'll go down. But conversely, you'll start, if you take the positive route and make positive decisions, you attract people that are going to propel you.
Yes.
And I think, I personally think we have to learn from the past to change the future.
True.
And I do more than ever feel like our world is on this cusp of making a real change. I think shit can really change now.
Well, I agree. I think
it is changing.
It is, and out of all this rubbish that we're going through now, I think it's like a cleanse. I think our society was just getting so social media and just, way people were just so obsessed with money and this, I don't know. They were just, I felt it universally. I don't know. That sounds weird.
No, it doesn't.
I just felt like
you're in the right place, brother.
Yeah. I felt like it was just getting so out of whack. So I think this has happened and it's brought people back, because something needed to happen because I could just feel our society was just going all about the wrong things, you know. It was just all about want, more.
And glorifying
Yes.
the wrong people.
Absolutely.
Like, listen, what's that Kardashian chick's name?
Kimmy Kardashian.
Yeah. And look, I don't know her. She's probably a really nice person, right?
Yeah.
But I seen this awesome meme the other day, and it was a picture of a nurse, you know, and it said, this nurse earns, it was from the UK. So this nurse earns £20,000 a year, which is probably about 50,000 Australian dollars a year. And then there was a picture of one of the Kardashians. She earns £7 million a year.
Exactly.
Like, where are we going wrong where these people are getting that type of glorification?
Oh, look.
And the people that are actually really putting back into society aren't.
Yeah. Oh, mate, I agree with you totally. Like, and I think, look, social media has got, look, I love social media, but it's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. So it is getting abused, you know, and it can be, you know, used for the right thing. But yeah, I just think that whole, you know, who we consider now our heroes and our stars, as opposed to people who are really on the line, like you were saying with that nurse, like it's very warped at the moment, very warped.
It is. But going back to social media, I think it's again this personal responsibility. You can choose what you you can choose how you consume it.
True.
You know, and like a lot of people think they can't. Oh, I was on Facebook. Well, no, you know what? Don't follow that page. Don't like that person.
So true.
You know, you can choose. No one's telling you. No one's telling you to choose this and choose that. And, you know, I'm going to plug this this media that I consume. It's called thegoodnewsnetwork.com. It's a website. And it's really legit. And all they do is post good news.
Yeah.
And it's not just good news. It's like educational. Like, you know, they're talking about, like a really good article I read the other day was some CEO of a multinational company just recently quit his job and is using his millions of dollars to invest in environmentally sustainable manufacturing. Yep. So like, there's good news out there.
So true. And like you said, it really is. It's a choice, you know, and like us as people, like you can choose to go the wrong route or you can choose to go the right one. So and it is with the social media, like some great things on there. But if you want to go look at the grubby stuff, it's plenty of that there too. So
here's a question for you.
Yes.
If you could, what would you say to 18-year-old Brett?
Ooh. 18-year-old Brett, I would say to him. I'd say to him, just trust the process, mate. Don't try and figure it all out, because I think that was a big part of it. I just wanted it. As you know, with pain, you want it to end. So I think I was feeling a little bit of pain then, so I wanted it to end. But I would just say to him is just, you know, keep putting good things out there. Like we said before, I believe in the universe. So it just trust the process and you'll be okay, you know. But yeah, don't blame your past. Just keep taking responsibility for yourself as a man and just make those right decisions. So,
dude, it's epic.
Thanks, buddy.
I feel like it's been epic. It's been an hour and 12 minutes.
Oh, nice.
And like, yeah, man, I feel like it's a good way to end, bro.
Oh, no, I appreciate this, mate. And look, to anyone out there, you know, if you are struggling and you have got issues, and I know, like, you know, mental illness is crazy in our world now, not just Australia, in our world. Yeah, look, just try and, you know, batten down the hatches a little bit. There's plenty of people to talk to now. The big thing is you need to talk about it.
You do.
You need to go out there and not bottle it up, and because that's when the problems happen. So you need to get out there and talk to someone, see a good therapist, you know, maybe get into some sport. That makes a big difference.
I think you raised a good point. You need to talk about it, but we also need to learn how to listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Oh, sorry, can you pass that bag, brother? Now listen, man. I'm a small operation.
Yes.
But I've got a gift for you.
Oh.
I've got a couple of gifts for you. One's in the mail, okay, from our friends at Indosol. Their Australian distributor is sending you a pair of Indosol flip-flops.
Nice. Thank you, Indosol.
Made from recycled motor vehicle tyres. You know, I say this a lot, but originally I never wanted to be affiliated with anyone, but I just love the philosophy of that company, and I want to promote those kind of themes. You know,
that's great.
They're just a few guys trying to do the right thing and earn a living that way.
No, I like that.
And the other present, don't get too excited, bro.
All right.
Dude, you get the THD Alumni Circle logo sticker. It's only for people that have been on the show.
Mate, I am
stick it wisely.
stoked. Thank you.
Stick it wisely. And if you see someone else with that sticker,
Just feel like we're part of the family.
Been on the show, bro. They've been on the show.
No, I appreciate it, Shan.
Now, listen, man, I ask all the guests to come with a cause nowadays, and I think you've touched on some awesome causes and themes, but is there a particular cause that you'd like to support or advocate for?
Look, anything to do with domestic violence to women is very, very, very close to my heart. You know, I think, even in this day and age, like, when I was a kid, it was all hush hush. But it's still happening now, so I'm real big on any cause we can get behind, like that helps women, in violent relationships or anything like that, that's big for me.
Dude, and I'll find there's a few good causes around that, like I think there's White Ribbon.
Yep.
And I'll actually put a link in your episode notes.
Beautiful.
And that link will follow your episode around via the terriblehappytalks.com website, which will lead you to all the various other platforms that you would like to listen to this on that would suit your device, such as Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and there's a few others.
Yep.
And that can be found on terriblehappytalks.com, and then that link will be on Brett's episode.
Nice.
Now, bro, I also want to do a shout out to the lovely Jesse Hansen and Blake Johnson who have been shooting this episode.
Great people.
I've been displaced. I've got this amazing photographer, Christina Scarborough. I mean, these guys are amazing too. Sorry, Jess, I'm not putting you down. But Christina Scarborough, she's got a website, christinascarborough.com. She usually accompanies me and she takes beautiful photos, and she's still living in Bali. And, she needs support as well. So get on her website and help her out. And, bro, I think I'm done. I'm done.
Great. Love talking to you. Love seeing you. And I'm happy for you, mate. You've, same as you and Blake, and you guys just, blazing the trail over there in Bali. I love it.
Blake is. Yeah. I'm just,
No, you're doing pretty good too, mate.
But, Blake actually, he wants to get in the ring with me right now. You know that, don't you?
Ooh, Shen goes all right. I'm not joking. Blake does go all right too. He used to lose his shit a little bit at training, but it'd be not a bad little tussle.
I'm ready.
No, mate, I remember you I don't know, I think you used to lose your shit a little bit too.
I did, yeah.
You did in contact. I remember that.
Yeah, I'm emotionally disturbed.
I love that. That's why we all get on.
I'm working on it, man. Like,
no, mate, 100%.
It's hard. Like, it's hard. But you talked about testosterone.
Yes.
Man, I think a lot of dudes have just got to learn how to harness that shit.
Yep.
Testosterone's a gnarly chemical, man.
It is a real gnarly chemical.
Yeah, and I think just accept that. You just go, I got testosterone, but how am I going to get it out?
Yeah, true. Get in, look, Muay Thai, boxing, any sort of martial arts, guys, like I cannot advocate that enough. As long as you get yourself a good instructor, and there's some really good ones out there.
Yeah.
You get into a good school, like that's a big step up for dealing with any testosterone, any mental illness issues. Like it just really helps you grow. So
that's why I think you're such a good role model, because I love that that combination of, like, I mean, you're tough. Like you've got that masculine. you epitomize masculinity. Chiseled. Got the tats and stuff, and I think that's why, with that coupled with that honesty and sensitivity, bro, I think that's the power. And I'm learning now that to be a tough male, you have to be sensitive.
I agree with you, mate.
Our default mode is to not be sensitive.
Yep.
So if you, like, being sensitive is the road less traveled as a male.
Yes.
And I think, like, that took me a long time to realize, like.
No, you've nailed it there.
Yeah, thanks.
Totally.
Thanks.
You really have, mate.
I'm trying.
That sensitivity is everything, being able to be in touch with how other people are feeling. Big part of it.
Mate, a legend. All right, high five, brother.
High five, brother. Thank you.
Love your work, bro.
You too, mate.
Legend, mate.